CSR role in bringing equity and sustainable development for India is very important. We often have heard about that India is divided into two parts, India and Bharat. And even in Bharat also, there are stark difference between the resourceful and have-not people. So corporates like you are reaching out to the last mile people through conscious efforts to bringing positive economic, environmental and social changes. And good thing about CSR that it's the best brain in the company who are planning for those interventions in a conscious way that how we can bring real impact and long lasting impact in the lives of the people they are touching. And you know that the challenge in development sector are so big. Even the mid assessment of SDGs brought this very point into notice that we are going a little bit off track to the targets, and the key reason that we are lacking the collaborative approach, the synergy we need to put into this, and that's how we need to collaborate to bring those changes at the larger scale. So we have a good, great panelist here to bring few of these points and their experience, how the CSR is creating these positive impacts. So welcome panelists.
Thank you.
I would like to start with Lakshmi first. So Lakshmi, we would like to understand how CSR is bringing these sustainability and social equity changes as per your experience.
I think we have heard a lot of the speakers and the panelists talking about CSR no longer being a checklist based thing where people tick off. So any business is to be profitable. However, we have to do it in a responsible way, and socially and corporate wise, we have to be responsible. So I come from Clover Infotech. We are IT service provider company. So within our context, we make sure that whatever resources that we use it responsibly, and also make sure that all our employees understand how to use and conserve water, paper and electricity. That is within our context of how we operate. In addition to that, we have moved to reduce our carbon footprint. We have moved all our financial systems to the cloud. Now, since we are service providers, we have a lot of clients to whom we advise on how to move to the cloud and also how to reduce their carbon footprint. We advise them and we also participate and help them to do it in a very efficient manner. So that is how we do, and then maintaining and supporting it, that forms a part of our business. In addition to that, to be socially responsible, our founder and chairman, their family charitable trust is there, which is called as the Sapphire Charitable Trust. So we from Clover, we work along with them, participating in the education, health, and also all other initiatives that they do through various NGOs that they partner with. Like for example, we work with the NGO called Catalyst for Social Action, which who work with the children's institutions, and we help them to understand how to bring about changes for them and how to help them out. And this we do across Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh under various institutions. So this is how we do our bit for the CSR initiatives. And it is not like we have one department which is called a CSR. All the unit heads form together, and that is how we make it part of the business strategy, and that is how we do it together.
Oh, beautiful, Lakshmi. So you got very good example where the top management, even the business heads, they are directly engaged into the CSR, and they are very interested to know how they can support the community. It's very interesting example. Aziz, Metro Shoes have done a lot of good work under CSR. So I just want to understand how you can expand the impact through partnerships and collaborations.
See, partnerships and collaborations between different stakeholders really help in creating the synergies which any single entity will not be able to achieve. If I can give you an example, Government of India has launched National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, right, which helps the organizations, giving them financial support if at all they are providing apprenticeship training to the unemployed as well as uneducated youth. This project is run under the aegis of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship at the national level. Actually, we also prefer employing uneducated and unemployed youth coming from decent family backgrounds in our organizations at a very early age. It brings in loyalty, it brings in faith, and it also brings in prosperity in the long run for the employees as well as for the company. This CSR project is a win-win project for actually all its stakeholders. Now, if you see what is the benefit for the community in this project, so even a 15 to 16-year-old unemployed and uneducated youth can be a part of this project. The trainee gets a chance to get on-the-job training in one of our 5-star retail stores and also earn a decent amount of stipend in it. And the trainee also has an option to continue with us if at all he wants to continue, but the only point is that it would be only after the training is completed. The benefit for the corporates under this project is that the stipend amount which we pay to the trainees can be accounted as a CSR expense. The government also reimburses a part of the training expenses which the corporate incurs in providing the on-the-job trainings to the trainees, but only after the training is completed. And the corporate also has an option to continue with the trainee if at all the corporate is satisfied with the working of the trainee only after the training is completed. Now, what is the benefit of this project for the government? Its skilling and job creation responsibility is being taken care by this project. The corporate has to post the project progress online on the ministry's websites as well as portals. Now, what is the benefit for the service providers? So, there are a couple of agencies which provides services to the corporates and helps them to complete the compliances and put up on the ministry's websites as well as portals. So Team Lease is helping us in completing these compliances. As we have huge expansion plans, the growth plans as well as store expansion plans, so this project helps us in our staff resourcing, sourcing as well as the training requirement. So this is how actually partnerships and collaborations really help us in putting our bit in accomplishing the social goals for our company.
Interesting, Ajay. So you mentioned that you consider the society as an integral partner in development.
Right.
So that's how you are taking, you are not considering them as a beneficiary, rather than you are pointing as a partner.
Right.
Interesting. So Vaishali, we would like to understand what you as a company, what kind of interventions under CSR you are driving and what kind of impact you are creating at the society level.
Sure, thank you so much, Sunil. So I think we've been hearing a lot since morning about the way organizations are working towards driving sustainability. I work for Novartis, and Novartis is one of the largest global healthcare companies. And what's beautiful about this organization is that social good is at the core of our mission. So our mission is reimagining medicines to improve and extend people's lives. So it's about really the societal element of doing good is very much ingrained in our purpose. Having said this, we are a global organization. We have made some global commitments to ESG. We're talking about water neutrality, carbon neutrality, plastic neutrality by 2030. Being the fact that we are a healthcare company, and water and health, really go hand in hand and very, very close interconnection. So we in India started looking at how do we really reach out to communities and what's the kind of work that we could do. We really went back and started on the drawing board saying, okay, because there's so much one can do, right? It's about prioritization. So we just told ourselves, and some of my team members are here, that if we give the man a fish, we will get the person to make one meal and eat. But if we teach them how to fish, we will make sure that they have the fish for the lifetime. So having said that, we said sustainable livelihoods is what we would focus on. And therefore, we had water neutrality and we had sustainable livelihoods, which we really wanted to marry as a part of our strategy. We have our operations in Mumbai and in Hyderabad. We use water from river basin and, river basin. And what we wanted to do is make sure that we become water neutral. So we actually adopted 12 villages in the state of Hyderabad or Telangana. And we started working with the communities with a very community first approach, understanding what their needs are, making sure that these were two states or two districts which were very water scarce. So what we said is, okay, let us do one thing, is like adopt these villages and make sure that we get them the right input for ensuring that their water requirements are met. So as a part of that, what we did was we ensured that there is high water supply. So we made sure that we had close to 18 water structures that were developed. We made sure that there is less water demand, and therefore we educated the farmers over there to really see how we can empower them to, have better yields with their crops by better utilization of water. And these are pieces that we did, and it really gave us very, very good results in terms of touching around 11,000 lives, around 2,000 families, having these 18 structures. But what's very, very critical and important over here is to note, and I'm going to tell you a story, that 3 years back when we actually started this project, there was this lady called Divya who was running a tea stall under a banyan tree. Sure. And 3 years later when we met her, she has a full service tiffin service, where she serves the community. Her household income has gone up from 5,000 rupees to 20,000 rupees. She's getting her children to school, and most importantly, she's going to get back to college to live her own dream of becoming an engineer. So what you're really doing is breaking the poverty cycle and moving people from point A to point B. And I think that's where we're talking about sustainable livelihoods, so touching the communities at the core. So that's the kind of work that we're doing.
So interesting, Vaisali. So how you are enabling the community and helping them to sustain their livelihood, it's a good example. Pardon for my bad throat.
You would want some water?
Yeah, thanks.
I'll help you.
You can take this.
So we have seen lots of positive things under CSR we are achieving through community engagement. So Dr. Ruski, we would like to understand from you what you as an organization look at CSR, how do you look at CSR as an opportunity as well as challenges? So because it's important to embed CSR into business strategy. So what's your view on that?
Making me the bad person here who's going to talk about all bad things about CSR now. So I would like to start by saying that this 2% of profits, it's got a huge burden. That's the biggest challenge that we have. And I think everybody from the CSR space at least would agree. Now with that 2%, everybody wants us to do like millions of things, change the world, change India, and every other department would come and say that, why don't you do this project, why don't you do that project? So I think that is something as CSR professionals in an organizations, we really face that as a challenge. That's one big thing. And coupled with that, I'm going to come to another very sensitive topic now. Coupled with that is the regulation, that ever-changing regulation that we are now, countering with. And every year we are having certain new things coming up in our regulation. And we have to, adopt, adapt, and be able to tell everybody in the organization that, okay, no, this has changed, so this is how we're going to look at it now. So these are also things that we need to do. And while doing all of this, to be focused. That's also a huge challenge that I'm sure everybody faces. because a lot of organizations did not understand, or they're probably all over the place. They want to do this and that and everything. We also started that way long back, but I'm glad that now we have decided that these are 4 areas or theme areas that we'll be working in. And while choosing those theme areas, we need to understand, and that's a debate again that we always do, that whether we should look at our own expertise, or is it somewhere conflict of interest or a business benefit. There's a thin line between the two, and that to establish that, to understand that, and pick and choose your projects is also something that we always struggle with. But having said that, I think the last challenge that I would like to also speak about is the big word impact. All of us here, long term, short term, and what kind of impacts do we talk about? How many lives we've touched, how many we've reached, what is our outreach, how many we've actually impacted, we really do not know. I mean, at least I would not really know the definition of all these words, but we use them very loosely. So that's also a challenge. But having said all of this, again, I'm going to come back to the good part of it, where we speak of opportunities. I think CSR has given us a great platform. So as organizations, we've been able to create a positive face out there. We've been able to also get into new areas of work. We've been able to penetrate new areas, get brand loyalty. We've been able to tell our stories. There are organizations who probably, due to the nature of the business, let's say manufacturing organizations, so due to the nature of the business, must be doing something which is harmful for the environment. But CSR is where you get an opportunity to actually offset all of that. So I think that is one important thing. We should be very careful about what kind of projects we choose and how are we actually going ahead and doing them. And Aziz, you pointed out at a very important thing that CSR also gives us an opportunity of collaboration with the government, with other players who are there, other stakeholders who are there. So that's also a very nice way of working. Then you actually, while doing good, you are creating your brand image. You're also keeping your stakeholders happy around over there. And that way you'll be able to get great business also in the future. So we need to really marry all of this correctly and taking care that we are not messing around anywhere with the regulations and the compliance requirements. So that's what I think is how we can talk about it.
Very interestingly, I'll take one point from you, whatever you said, the consistency and the efforts for CSR. I think for any development change, it's a long-term process, and we need to put our efforts on consistent basis. But again, you said that we need to convince the board, because that's our role. They are looking at the number, the impact, the change. So that's how to convince the board that just stay, wait, changes will happen. So I'd like to understand from you, Vaishali, how do you measure the impact being created through CSR interventions?
So, CSR is very soft in its nature. So, we want to do good to community, and but my personal belief, and having 30 years of experience with commercial and now communications in CSR, I think there should be nothing in this world without a measure. And if we actually have to really start measuring, I think one of the pieces that we have to have a mindset of being very deliberate about the measurement that we want to do. And therefore, we need to take that extra effort to make sure that we have a baseline, because without a baseline, you're not going to be able to show impact.
True.
So I think that's extremely critical. And the other piece, and the moment you do this, it becomes very easy, because then you have uniform standards for measurement, and recording and reporting, and that's also, of course, mandated by law now. But these are pieces, if you're conscious that, okay, at the end of it, I need to show success, I need to show that I have moved from point A to point B, then I need to make sure that I'm very deliberate about my efforts. Having said that, I'm going back to the Telangana story, and of course we have many more, but I'm going back to the Telangana story so that there's continuity. So when we started off, there were one piece of measurement was just as simple as how does the place look? It was a barren land. And how does it place look today before and after? So the pictures can itself be so profound to tell you a story. It could be hard numbers where you're talking about the water levels actually going up. There has been 20 to 30% crop increase with the farmers. There has been an average income increase amongst all families, and most importantly, 50 women today are having their own so-called startup or small little organizations where they're doing their own work. So, you're also empowered the women community. You've made sure that you've given them microfinancing options so that it really come up. And more so while doing all of that, not forgetting your main goal of water neutrality. So whatever water that we use in our Hyderabad organization, and we give in much more back to the state. So I think it's important to lay out your foundation right in the beginning. You need to know where you want to go and then plan accordingly.
Very rightly you said. And you mentioned that that's a very important point, that everything is measurable. Until unless we put a framework how to measure it.
Correct.
Even the qualitative things we can put into numbers, and actually these numbers help us to reach to the board. So Aziz, do you think these numbers help in gaining the trust of the shareholders and even enhancing our financial performance as a company?
Yes, actually speaking, corporate responsibility goes beyond the area of profit maximizing. Actually, it pushes us towards embracing the more broader triple bottom line, that is people, planet, as well as the profit-based business approach. Although this may not be feasible in a short term, but it will really help in the long term in building the trust as well as the confidence with our stakeholders in a very long term. Being a socially responsible footwear retail company, in one of our CSR projects, we have clubbed one of our sustainability goals of waste management. As we all know that footwear is very difficult to decompose naturally. As such, whenever the footwear is discarded, it remains in the landfills and oceans for hundreds of years, thereby harming the environment. Now, for the current population of around 8 billion people worldwide, the footwear industry manufactures 20 billion footwears and spends around $95 billion on it annually. As per one of the studies conducted, there are 1.5 billion people who are suffering with various illnesses due to not wearing proper footwear. Now just imagine the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. The footwear industry is manufacturing 2.5 pairs per annum per person, but still 1.5 billion people are suffering due to various illnesses due to not wearing proper footwear. There's one more study being conducted, that by the year 2050, there would be more waste in the oceans than the aquatic animals in it. And a fair portion of oceanic waste consists of footwear also. Now, if we consider all these facts and figures, it can be safely arrived that the world dumps around 500,000 pair of old discarded footwear either in the landfills or in the oceans in just 1 hour. 1 घंटे में पूरी दुनिया में 5 lakh footwear, old discarded footwear, 5 lakh footwears are being dumped either in the landfills or in the oceans. There are a couple of organizations worldwide, such as Ocean Souls in Africa, Nike in USA, Green Soul Foundation in India, who are working towards eco-friendly disposal of these old discarded footwears. However, the impact which these organizations have created is quite minuscule as compared to the huge quantities of old discarded footwear being generated and dumped. So at Metro Brands Limited, we collect the old discarded footwears, and then through our implementing partners, we collect the old discarded footwears through rack pickers, through waste management agencies, through waste aggregators, and also from the landfills. Then once the footwears are collected, we then sort it material-wise, we then cut it, we then again sort the cutted material raw material-wise, and then the plastic as well as the rubber materials are being sent to the registered recyclers for their recycling. And the totally worn-off parts, we send it to the cement factories or to the power generating units, where they are used to replace the requirement of coal as well as gases to generate heat. This helps in reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, as well as it provides economic benefits because they replace the requirement of coal as well as other raw materials. In the last financial year 22-23, we sold around 7.8 million pairs of footwear. And in the last year, we processed around 900 tons of old discarded footwears, which gave us around 2.1 million pairs. So in the last year, we achieved a coverage of around 25%. In this year, we are estimating that we'll be selling around 10 million pairs, and we will be processing around 2,500 tons of old discarded footwear, which will give us around 5 million pairs. So the coverage ratio in the current year, we are estimating at around 50%. And in the year 24-25, we have taken a huge target. We are aspiring to achieve pair-to-pair. That is the number of footwear pairs that we sell. It would be equal to the number of footwear pairs that we process in an eco-friendly manner. Right. This is how, at Metro Brands Limited, we view corporate responsibility as a way to achieve a safe, sustainable, and equitable future for all of us.
Very great. So,
Very nice.
Clive.
Thank you.
So such initiative cannot be taken until unless leadership is on board.
Right.
And I think that's the culture of the organization which help us to take such bold decisions. We have heard other panelists also during the day that they started CSR well before the law been enacted. So that's a part of the organization culture. So I would like to understand from you, Lakshmi, how the leadership helped us to foster the culture of CSR or the social responsible behavior among the employee as well as among the community we are touching.
In our organization, actually many of the inputs for our initiatives come from the board, the chairman, and also from the CEO. And the leadership participates fully into the initiatives that we take. As I said, all the unit heads are part of the CSR, and then we work together to achieve what we plan to do for the year. Now, two things I would like to bring up here. One is that being an IT industry, average age in our company must be around 30 to 35 years. And for many of them, this is the first job. So educating them in all aspects, including being environmentally responsible, is also a big job. So we do that by conducting trainings and also involving them in many of the initiatives that we do. And it is not only within the organization, they need to be responsible as individuals and touch the communities that they actually live in. So that is how we educate. We cover globally what is happening, what as an organization that we are doing, and what can they do to contribute as individuals to this entire initiative. So that is one aspect of the educating or awareness that we drive. And then what we also do is we involve them in many of the initiatives where we go to organizations like YMCA and educate the teenagers in their communication or bringing focus into what they like to do. Our employees also go along with the seniors and they participate in all that. So they also understand that we may be a little more privileged than the others, but then we have to share it and make sure that we give back. And I manage the Clover Training Academy. So what we also do while we have trainings that is happening for the employees throughout the year, we also recruit freshers. Now we recruit mostly from the tier 2 and tier 3 colleges and from remote areas of Maharashtra and other states. So we bring them and we hire them as employees. We don't do this as a business. This is like our own employees. We bring them from the tier 2 and tier 3 colleges. We teach them technology as to how it is being used in the business, how we will move them into the projects. 3 to 4 months of training, which includes even communication, soft skills, including how they have to groom themselves, how they have to talk to the customers, how they have to talk to other people. So we cover all aspects in that. So this is again organizational business plan itself caters to this kind of hiring and bringing people from tier 2, tier 3 level of colleges. Now, I have seen in the last 5 years that I have been managing this, that for a lot of the freshers that we get, they are first time graduates. Their entire family has been doing something else, they are first time graduates. And they are the ones who are actually coming into working in IT, and it's a big thing for them. And we facilitate that and make sure that they can succeed and they have a career with us. That is what we do, and this entire thing is actually, all the initiatives are supported and guided by the board and the senior leadership within our company. And I think it matters a lot when you have this kind of leading by example within an organization. Entire organization works together for these initiatives.
Very aptly you said, Lakshmi. Dr. Ruski, when we decide on CSR interventions, so normally we have a choice that we can choose to go with ease, or we decide consciously that we are touching the last mile people who is actually needing the support. So I would like to understand what approach or the strategic decision you take in your organization to touch the last mile people.
Sure. It's very important, to actually touch the last mile people. So here we're talking about the target beneficiaries, right? So I think 3 things are key to deciding this. One is obviously the need and the selection of project, that stage. The second thing is using the resources efficiently, and third obviously is the impact. So when I speak about selection of project, over here it's very key to understand that you do a need assessments. A lot of times we end up taking projects which come to us, we probably get excited about it for various reasons, or at times we also think that this is an easier way of doing it. Somebody is doing their job, we have implementing partners, we have NGOs, just give it to them and let's get done. I'll give you a small example, even we were doing it that way. Surgeries, a lot of us, we say that there is very limited resources here, but everybody is funding surgeries. But do we really go and even understand who that surgery has been given to? Yes, of course, the person is needy, you will say, right, that the person is needy and hence the surgery. But is there a proper way a need assessment was done? Could we have done this in any other way or in a better way? So we figured out that, instead of just going and funding surgeries and using our CSR money, maybe what we can do is try and find out that this ailment is maximum or it's prevalent in which area, and do a camp over there, and then ensure that this whole population gets an opportunity to get diagnosed and get to know that whether or not they have that ailment, and then go ahead and do a surgery for them, instead of randomly doing surgeries and claiming that we've done 2,000, 5,000 in a year. So the approach of need assessment, I think, is key. And second, to be able to use resources. We are, I'm very proud to say that, we, despite having a very small budget of CSR, I think we are doing splendid projects, and the kind of impact that it's creating is much better than what we could have done with even a larger budget. So here, using your resources properly and wisely is also very, very important. And third thing about impact, I know I did ridicule about impact a while ago, but here I want to also specify that impact in short term and long term. This is something that is also key to understanding who's your target beneficiary and what are they actually getting out of this intervention that you're doing. Example again. So, very, very common example, many corporates must be funding trainings. We also heard examples here in this panel. So we've also done trainings. We've done trainings thinking that, oh, we've trained somebody, given them, scope of livelihood, and we also proudly claim that 70% of them, got placed in some organization. Our project is done, we have exited. What happened next? Obviously, next year the same partner comes back to us saying that last year you did 1,000, this year you do 2,000. But hey, stop there. Tell me what happened to that 70% of the 1,000 who got placed. Are they still continuing? This is something that we stopped and tried to look at. And I think that is also very important, because just claiming that we have given training to 1,000 is not the impact that we should be looking at. It should be beyond this. Whether or not they've got a job, whether or not they're continuing with that job, what happened to it, why did they leave that job? Is there anything else that we can include in the training so that they will be able to continue this? So there's a lot more deep thinking that we need to do, and not just do a checkbox ticking that, okay, compliance okay, funds okay, we have reported everything and we are good to do. It's a choice that we need to make. Yes, it is tough, it does take time, it does take investment, it does take a lot of convincing your management, your board, but I think as CSR professionals, that is what we should look at. One last thing that I want to mention is that we're also trying to educate our employees a lot about CSR, about volunteering, and we also started something called as Sathi as a program last year. And we were surprised to see that only in the first year, we had 31,000 hours of volunteering by our employees, which I think is huge. Maybe somebody else is doing much more. But for us as a first year, that was great, because that's when our employees got to know that the kind of work an organization is doing and the scope that they can also contribute to it. And I think that's also a change, that also makes your organization start thinking about funding more responsibly or doing projects which are better. And the whole culture in the organization starts changing. And we get better people to join us. We get people who continue and also speak well about the company. So these, I think, are the strategies that we try to follow. Yep.
Thanks, Dr. Ruski. So I'll take last word of wisdom from all the panelists. So you as a CSR leader, how you can influence that all CSR interventions are trying to be more equitable, trying to reach the community in a more equitable and sustainable manner. So just quickly 1 or 2 sentences starting from Dr. Ruski again.
I think one point other than what I've mentioned is that convergence and collaboration, I think, is very key, because you can't solve all the problems all by yourself. You may not have the resources, you may not have expertise, but when you collaborate with somebody else, maybe you are giving money for the training, somebody else is giving or contributing something else to it, I think we can do a better impact. We can all create better shared value over here. So that's one point.
Over to Lakshmi.
Yeah, I think being inclusive, bringing all the employees together and being transparent, bringing in transparency as to what as an organization we are doing, that has a long-term benefit, because then more and more employees participate, as we have already seen. And they enjoy doing that, and they were not sure how they can contribute, but organization is giving them an opportunity to do that together. And of course, partners, having the right partners and working together also helps in reaching, having a larger outreach is what I would like to say.
Aziz.
For me, CSR strategy is purely working towards the benefit of our own stakeholders, of our own business stakeholders who are in need. Got it. So under our CSR, we are working strongly for the benefit of the cobbler community. We are working for the benefit of the shoe shiners. We are working for the benefit of the environment in processing the old discarded footwear. And we are also working for the benefit of the unemployed as well as uneducated youth, and wherein we are giving the on-the-job training in our own showrooms. So this is the main focus area, that whatever stakeholders are in need, we should work on our own stakeholders who are in need, so that the business creates equity. The social equity part is covered into this.
Great. And Vaishali?
So I think my fellow panelists have actually spoken about collaboration, about inclusiveness and so on. I think for me, beyond that, there are a couple of things that I would be mindful of. One is a community first approach, where I would co-create with the help of the communities. So the robustness of the program is very, very solid. And the second term, and we've spoken enough about it, is looking at long-term impact. But it's just not long-term impact, it is long-term impact that will benefit generations to come. So that you're really making it sustainable and you're making it equitable for people.
Thank you very much to all the panelists. Thanks. Can we take questions during this tea break?
I like it how all the panel members would just look at me and they'll be like, yes, yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was indeed an insightful one. And like our moderator mentioned, Mr. Kumar, that all your Q&As would be answered during the high tea. So right after this, we're going to meet for the high tea. But right before that, I would like to express my gratitude to all the panel members. A huge round of applause for them, please. I think we shouldn't call you all panel members. We should just call you all Google. Because all this, I'm sure you all would agree, is not available on Google. Best practices, yes, collated in one article, but best practices, listening to them live, is indeed an information or knowledge gain. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our moderator and our panel members, please. Up next, I'm now going to request Mr. Sandeep Batra, partner, Sapphire Human Solutions, to please join us on the stage and present the token of appreciation, please. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue clapping.